No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for September the 5th, 2022. Happy Labor Day to everyone out there. We are coming off a very busy weekend between Clash at the Castle, Worlds Collide, and AEW All Out, and the post-show shenanigans from All Out. NoDQ.com will keep you updated with all that. Let's get into the Raw recap. We started Raw with Edge coming down to the ring for a promo. He wanted to address the betrayal by Dominic Mysterio at the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view or premium live event. He talked about his memories with Dominic, knowing Dominic as a little kid when Rey came into WWE. He wanted to know what was going on. He said that the spear from a few weeks ago to Dominic was an accident. Edge, though, did take responsibility for Judgment Day, said that was his fault, and he accepts that. However, Dominic is now a WWE superstar, and a man's game pays a man's price. This led to Edge calling out Dominic for a fight, but Rey Mysterio came down to the ring instead. Dominic was nowhere to be found, and Rey talked to Edge, said that Dominic messed up big time, but Rey was looking out for his son, asking Edge to not do this. Edge said that Dominic is old enough to stand up for his actions, and he called out Dominic once again. This time it was Rhea Ripley appearing, and she said that she made Dominic into a man. Dominic was there with Rhea Ripley, dressed all in black, and Rey told Dominic to snap out of it. Rey said that Dominic still has time to make amends with Edge, and the crowd was chanting, "Who's your poppy?" at Dominic, and they also chanted Eddie's son at him. Rey went to the outside of the ring to confront Dominic. He started to walk away. Dominic would not even look at Rey in the eyes, and then Edge was in the ring waiting for Dominic to do something, but then Finn Balor and Damian Priest came in from behind. They attacked him. Rey tried to make the save here, but Dominic blocked Rey's path, and then Rhea Ripley attacked Rey. They continued to beat down Edge. Rey handed a chair to Dominic. Rhea, I should say. I'm thinking Rey Seahorn. I always mix those two up. And there's also Rey Mysterio. Rhea handed the chair to Dominic. Dominic handed the chair to Balor. And then Balor used it on Edge. They put the chair over Edge's knee. And then Balor came off the top with a coup de grace right onto the knee of Edge with the chair laying there. Pretty good angle here to set up Dominic, who is now apparently a full-fledged member of the Judgment Day. Good stuff here. And they did announce later on that Edge would be back on Raw next week to face Dominic. Now, Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, do you buy Dominic as a threat to Edge next week? I don't, but you know you'll have the Judgment Day out there. They'll have the numbers game, and that'll help Dominic. I'm not really sure how this is going to play out, but yeah, you certainly don't think Dominic is by himself going to stand much of a chance against Edge. And Walter Cruz sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, like and share, say yes to no DQ, hashtag stick to my shtick. Thank you for that, Walter. I appreciate it. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Seahorn versus Mysterio for the first name Rey. There you go. If they ever bring back Raw guest hosts, they can bring in Ray Seahorn. Hell, Aaron Paul was on an episode of Raw. Bring in Ray Seahorn, and they can do a match for the name Ray. They can put the little contract up on a pole and do that match. There you go. We had Miz and I guess he's Tommaso Ciampa again. They arrived to the arena and they were interviewed about the cage match. And then we saw that a car had been flipped over. And that used to be the calling card of a certain former WWE superstar. Stay tuned. Axel sent in a $10 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, do you think Dominic will succeed as a heel? I think it will do him good. Also, I think one thing that holds Dominic back is his look. I feel like Judgment Day will get him in shape. I definitely would like to see him change up his look a little bit. Maybe get rid of the mullet. Maybe grow out his beard more if he can. But yeah, I definitely think if he adapts a darker look, that would definitely benefit him. And we'll see how this goes. I mean, people have been waiting for this. I definitely think it was overdue to turn him heel and do this storyline where Ray is trying to talk some sense into him, but he's in the dark side now, and they can eventually do that match, Ray versus Dominic, something that's been talked about for a while. Dustin Herrick sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Dustin. Says, we lie, we cheat, we steal. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That was a great theme song. They just do not make them like they used to. Well, that's because they got rid of Jim Johnston. I'm not saying that the mullet is a bad thing. I just don't think it works with Dominic personally. Very few guys, I think, can rock the mullet. There are guys that can do it. It was commonplace in the 1980s, but when you see a guy in 2022 with a mullet, you have to have a certain ability to make it work. And it's just your presence, your attitude, your whole presentation. You got to be able to make it work. And I'm not sure if Dominic is that guy. Maybe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could make a mullet work, but very few could. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, Dominic looks a little too emo for me. Well, that's kind of the vibe that you get with the Judgment Day. I think he does fit in that sense. They kind of have that gothic / emo look to them. And Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Says, they need to be careful not to bury Ray's character. Well, I mean, Ray is Ray. Rey Mysterio is always going to be beloved. People will always cheer for him no matter what happens. I mean, he's one of those guys where he could lose like every match and people would still cheer for him and get behind him. And yes, Eddie did rock the mullet back in the day. Eddie was a special kind of guy that could do it. He had that charisma and personality where he could make it work. So anyways, we had a contenders match for the unified tag team titles. We had the Street Profits versus the New Day versus the Alpha Academy versus Los Lotharios. When I found out the participants for this match, I was like, really? None of these teams should be facing the Usos. That was my first thought when this match was announced. Gaping A-Hole sent in a $1 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You just wanted me to say that username, so there you go. We had Angel Garza tagging in Kofi Kingston, so Kofi had to wrestle Xavier Woods. You know, you could tag in anybody and force people on the same team to compete, but basically what Kofi and Xavier did is they attempted to do what the New Age Outlaws did a very long time ago. And Xavier laid down, Kofi pinned him. They tried to do that. but then everybody came in and stopped it from happening. And we had some dives. New Day hit some dives. Dawkins did a dive. Otis hit a big splash to Ford, but Kofi Kingston came in and made the save. And then Chad Gable put the ankle lock on Ford. And then, out of nowhere, Braun Strowman is back. The monster among men, rumored to be returning over the past few weeks. Triple H even acknowledged him in his interview with BT Sport over the weekend. Braun Strowman officially back in WWE. He looks in great shape. A little rough around the edges, maybe a little bit of ring rust, I don't know. But he came in there and started destroying people, anybody he could get his hands on. Security came down. They got beat up as well. Strowman did the Strowman Express, and, well, he went towards Gable and kind of missed him somehow. But then he bum rushed Otis through the barricade. Crowd was going absolutely nuts for Braun Strowman. I know some people out there were like, why would you bring back this guy? If you saw Raw, you would know why. Like, the crowd reacted to him like he was a top-tier guy, like a Steve Austin or a Rock. I mean, everybody was on their feet for this guy. They were cheering like crazy. And this is a guy that has not been on television in over a year. You know, I would always say out of sight, out of mind, but the fact that he could come back after over a year and the crowd is going nuts for him, guy is a star, regardless of what people think about his in-ring skills or his attitude outside of the ring. Crowd was very much into him. But the question is, what do you do with the guy now? I mean, they basically had him destroy these tag teams. I think maybe a few of the guys were not touched, like Ford, but most of the participants in this tag match were beat down. And yeah, the whole match was thrown out, and it was a lengthy match too. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, is Nicholas coming back to join Braun Strowman? Don't give them ideas, although with Vince McMahon gone, we probably don't have to worry about that, although they may throw an Easter egg at us and have him make a cameo at some point. David Estevez sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Strowman versus Walter possibly? There's an idea. Strowman versus Omos. I mean, they don't have a lot of options for him, but they can revisit Strowman versus Reigns again. There's a few matches you can do with him. And he will be on SmackDown. We'll get to that in just a few moments here. As far as him taking out the tag teams, like I said earlier, none of these teams should have been winning this match anyways. So at least it wasn't a tag team that they were building up for the Usos. They just need some new teams, basically. You need Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens as a team. I'm hoping that'll happen soon. And I'd like to see DIY reunite at some point. You got to get some fresh blood in there for the Usos. None of these teams, like we've seen New Day versus Usos. We've seen Street Profits versus Usos, and the other two teams were really not going to win this. So I'm okay that they sabotaged the match with Strowman's appearance, but I just think that, like, it was such a long match and we got no payoff. I'm never really a fan of that. But yeah, some people were not happy that Strowman came out there and they basically sacrificed 4 tag teams to build up Braun Strowman again. Moving on here. And by the way, EC3 commented on Strowman's Raw appearance. You can check out the press release over at NoDQ.com. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please tell a friend. Tweet this video, share it on Facebook, anything you can do to help promote the channel. would be very much appreciated. We're like 100 subscribers now from 60,000. So if you guys can help me get to that number, it would be very much appreciated. Moving on here, we had Raquel and Aaliyah up against Doudrop and Nikki ASH in a non-title match. Damage Control, they were watching backstage sideways. That's one Vince thing that is still a thing for whatever reason. And this was a very basic match. Raquel managed to pick up Doudrop for the chokeslam bomb and got the win. And that was that. It was just a pretty straightforward match to give the champs a victory, I suppose. Then we had Rey Mysterio interviewed backstage, and he said he's not going to turn on his son, but he's going to beat up Judgment Day. He's going to kick their asses, and he challenged either Balor or Damian Priest to a match. We had Austin Theory come into the ring to talk about the Clash at the Castle event, although he called it Crown Jewel, and he quickly corrected himself. He said he's still the youngest Mr. Money in the Bank. He gets back up even when he got knocked down by Tyson Fury. He said he's glad Reigns retained because they have unfinished business. And then Kevin Owens showed up. Kevin Owens started making fun of Austin Theory and brought up how Austin has his first name back, said that Theory is delusional, and Fury actually did Theory a favor because Theory would have lost if he actually got to cash in Money in the Bank. And Owens said that if he was in the Money in the Bank match this year, he would have won it. And Theory said that that's all a fairy tale. Owens is just trying to stay relevant. And then Owens called out the referee, and we had a match between Theory and Kevin Owens. Good match here, back and forth. Theory was sent into the barricade. He did get in some offense, but it was mostly Kevin Owens in the early going. Owens went for a swanton off the apron, but Theory got his knees up, and then Owens managed to hit the swanton when they got back in the ring. Theory kicked out of it. Theory avoided a pop-up powerbomb, and Owens went into the ring post. Owens got slammed into the edge of the steps, like the edge parts of the steps, which looked absolutely brutal. And Owens barely beat the count. He almost got counted out. However, Owens was able to make a comeback, and then he hit the pop-up powerbomb, followed by a stunner, and he scored the 1-2-3 victory. And Kevin celebrated. Jimmy Smith said that no belt is safe from Kevin Owens, and he used the word belt. Another one of those banned terms that is once again being used now that Triple H is in charge. And backstage, Ciampa and Miz had another interview, and Ciampa said Miz is better than Bobby Lashley. We had a Clash at the Castle video package. And then we had Damage Control walking to the ring, Bayley's group. In the background, we had Nikki ASH taking off her mask, giving it to Doudrop. Are we finally done with this superhero gimmick now? It's about damn time. But I still feel like part of me thinks that we're going to see Nikki ASH again on next week's show. Like, I'm just not getting my hopes up that it's done until it's actually done. So Damage Control came to the ring for a promo. Ding dong, hello, idiots. She bragged about beating Bianca Belair's team. And Dakota Kai talked about how she wasn't even the legal person when she got pinned last week. And next week, they're going to get their rematch for the tag team titles against Raquel and Aaliyah. Then we had Bianca Belair show up. Bianca wanted to fight. She challenged Bayley, but Bayley said she would not compete on Labor Day. And Bianca said it took 3 of them to beat her. and she still has the title until Bayley has the title. She is in control of nothing, according to Bianca. But Bianca was in the ring by herself, surrounded. However, Bayley decided to spare Bianca for this evening, and she said that she will get her title one way or another. D. Martin 5th sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, for some reason, I remember when you used to call Lashley Bob the Lash. Yeah, that was way back in the day. Back when Lashley was a joke. They brought him back and they did the Lashley sisters. They did the angle with Lana. And finally, with the help of MVP, Lashley got his career on track. And now MVP is nowhere to be found. Still with Omos, I presume. But yeah, they're not really doing anything with her. We had Johnny Gargano interviewed backstage and talked about how he's been swimming with sharks his entire career. He said he's excited to show everybody what he can do. Theory interrupted, said that Johnny wrestling is just Johnny talking. And Gargano said, well, before Theory interrupted him, he was going to announce that next week he officially returns to in-ring action. So that's next week. Gargano will compete on Raw for the first time. I believe so. Maybe he competed on Raw before, either as part of NXT or maybe pre-NXT. Like, wasn't he? I think he was on Raw or SmackDown like over a decade ago. He was like in this like Oktoberfest outfit. Somebody let me know if I'm correct with this, because I feel like he did something like that where he was out there as like some kind of European, and this was like 10, 15 years ago. Cleaver Colin Andrews says he was. I figured he was. Yeah, 2007. Thank you, Michael Wayne. So we had Rey Mysterio versus Damian Priest, and they talked about how Edge was taken to a hospital, not a local medical facility. Once again, the Vince banned terms, that has been reversed. Priest dominated early, and when Rey started to build some momentum, Judgment Day arrived. Priest regained control. It went back and forth. Rey hit a Hurricane Rana, but Priest kicked out. Priest countered the 619, took Rey down with a spinning kick. He attempted the Razor's Edge, but Rey countered with a 619. Then Dominic got on the apron, and Rhea, keep saying it, Rhea, Ripley, and Finn Balor provided a distraction, and then Priest hit the South of Heaven to pick up the 1-2-3 victory. Afterwards, Rhea got on the mic, said that Poppy gets what Poppy gets, or Poppy wants what Poppy gets, and they're going to send Edge into retirement next week. Dominic will step up to the plate and finish off Edge once and for all. And going back to earlier, we'll see what happens with that. Not so sure that's going to be the case, but maybe the numbers game will catch up with Edge. Will Rey be on next week? Rey Mysterio? Time will tell. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, they're still having the Money in the Bank holder lose a lot. Yeah, that is true. I thought maybe they would start to rehab Theory and give him some wins, but nope, nothing yet. Bobby Lashley cut a little promo to hype up the main event, said Miz doesn't need to be worrying about Dexter Lumis. Only person he should worry about is him once they're inside the cage. And Strowman was briefly interviewed, said nobody is safe, and he will see everybody this Friday on SmackDown. We had a video package recapping Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle. They showed an interview with Riddle from after the match. And Riddle said he let his emotions get the best of him. He wants another match with Rollins as soon as possible. Rollins was also interviewed, and he said that it's not going to happen. He is moving on to bigger and better things. Well, we do have about 5 weeks, I think 5 weeks, until the Extreme Rules Premium Live event. So they got some time to set up to this, but I fully expect there to be some kind of grudge match at the Extreme Rules show. Mr. Tito, who just posted a column earlier today on NoDQ.com about the AEW drama, says, I'm just happy Braun Strowman still has the Gore-like theme song. I'm glad they didn't change it. You know, you gotta go with what the people are familiar with, and that's a great song. That's one of the better entrance themes. I'm not sure if that's Jim Johnston or CFOs. It might be CFOs, because I think Jim Johnston's last theme song was Corbin's old music, and that was when 2015, 2016. I'm curious. Somebody let me know. Michael Wayne says CFOs, and he knows a lot, so I'm gonna say it's CFOs. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says, so my guess is they're building towards Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania. Can we assume The Rock has told them no, or is Triple H not interested? Well, I'm not sure where you got that Rock was not doing it. I think that's still a possibility. I think that if The Rock can do it, he will do it, and Cody Rhodes will be a backup. But yeah, I don't recall anybody saying that The Rock was not doing WrestleMania. I think it's still up in the air at this point if he's going to be part of it or not. One would think that they'll have to make a final decision on it in a couple months. You know, certainly November, December, they're going to want to make a decision on what direction they're going in for Mania. We had the main event of the evening, Bobby Lashley defending the U.S. title against The Miz. Now, I know that it was a good match and everything, but man, I just don't understand why Miz is getting another match. Bobby Lashley has destroyed him every match they've ever had. So it was kind of hard for me to get into this, although you had Ciampa out there, and they attacked Lashley before the match even started. Miz hit him with the title. Ciampa joined in. They threw him into the cage repeatedly. They beat him down, and Lashley was selling his arm. They used the steel steps on his arm. Lashley did make a comeback, though, sent the Miz into the cage, and then Ciampa tried to pull Miz out of the cage, and then Ciampa grabbed the chair, started swinging at the cage to prevent Lashley from escaping. Lashley hit Miz with a superplex and then went for the spear, but Miz sidestepped him. Lashley went into the cage. Miz hit skull-crushing finale, but Lashley kicked out. And Ciampa attempted to slam the cage door on Lashley, but Lashley ended up slamming it into Ciampa. And then Miz took advantage of the situation. Miz slammed the door into Lashley's face several times. Miz climbed over. Miz was going to win the match. But then all of a sudden, you had Dexter Lumis pop out from under the ring, and he scared the Miz, and that led to Lashley hitting the spear to retain his championship. And then afterwards, Dexter climbed over the cage, got in the ring, choked out the Miz, and that was the end of Monday Night Raw. So they're still having Lumis interfering, and it was an interesting camera angle they did when they were like way above the cage looking down, and they zoomed in on Lumis. But yeah, like TJS said, they got to try to take this to the next step as far as where they're going with it. But all in all, it was pretty entertaining. Overall, I thought that this was a pretty decent show, but I was not blown away by it. I think the most interesting thing on this show was Strowman's return. Dustin Herrick sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Dustin. Says, The Rock, special guest referee for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. You know what? That could end up being what happens. Maybe The Rock cannot commit to a match, but he could be a referee. They could certainly do that if The Rock is unable to wrestle at WrestleMania. I would not be shocked if that is a backup plan if Rock is unable to actually do a match. And there's still people that don't think it's going to happen because of The Rock's insurance and there just being a risk in him getting injured with another match. Walter Cruz sent in a $2 super chat. Says, you can bring back anyone's theme. Who would it be? That's a great question, and I'm not even sure where to begin with that. Would that be anybody who's currently in WWE, or could it be anybody in any company? Man, there's just a lot of them. I mean, here's one. How about Glorious for Robert Roode? Get Robert Roode back with Glorious. There's an idea right there. Maybe Ciampa, No One Will Survive. That's a great one. But yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of themes that I would like to see come back. Not American males. I love American males, but not American males. I would probably give this show a B-. I was not blown away by it, like I said, but it was fine. It was a fairly good Raw, and the highlight was definitely Strowman. It wasn't something you need to go out of your way to watch, though. The Strowman thing was probably the main thing. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, today in history, 2007, Andrew Test Martin is released from TNA after only being there for a month. He would pass away a year and a half later. You had to know things were not good in his life for TNA to release him, because they brought in Kurt Angle when Angle on a personal level was not doing so well. So for them to release Test, Andrew Martin, things had to have been pretty bad for him at that time. So that was just a very sad story with him. But thank you for that history lesson. I appreciate it. And thank you again to everybody. Enjoy your week. Again, NoDQ.com will keep you updated on all the latest news and rumors. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.